canceling the contract because my buyer's moving out of the country. And then you look and literally, see, I'm like this crazy person. And so like 3 months later, I look into public records to see if that person bought a new house, and sure enough, they did.
Hey guys, I'll be right with you. Give me about 2 minutes. I'm wrapping up my office meeting in Orlando and I'll be right back on. Hey gang, how's everybody? Who's here? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
Good deal. Sorry about that. I was just wrapping up. I'm here in Orlando wrapping up our office meeting. So got to run, and you know how realtors are, they can chit chat. And they kept us going a little bit. So let me try and get things set up here so I can share my screen and see where we are. And I'll get a feel for who we have on board here in a moment as well. Can you guys see my screen okay now?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, so welcome to session 3. Let's see who we got on here. I'm going to open up my panel a little bit so we can see who we have. Expand this. I see Manny Gonzalez, see Anna, see Whitney, see Omnia, see Nicole, see Deb, Mara Lee is in here for along for the ride. Brian, I see you. I'm dating myself. Deb, you might remember that. I feel like I'm on Romper Room. Do you remember Romper Room?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when little Miss Mary Ann, she'd look through her little mirror and say, I see John, I see Susan, I see, you know.
You just waited for someone to call your name, you know.
It was a big day when she said Bobby, because I was Bobby when I was young. She said Bobby, I about wet my pants that she said.
I get it.
She sees me. She sees me. It was big news, big news. So, all right. So now, if I didn't mention you, remember that if you want to speak, make sure you're unmuted. If you aren't speaking, please do mute yourself so you won't hear any background noise. But we're getting into session 3 here. In session 3, we tend to get a lot more interactive anyway. So be prepared to, if you have something to share or a question to ask, because if you haven't been at the first 2, make sure you go back and take a look at the first 2 to get a feel for where we are and what our plans and goals may or may not be. But we want to continue on and see if we can help you be more productive. and actually start to implement some of the ideas that we've discussed in the first couple of weeks. So let me dig right in real fast to the PowerPoint. So here's, if you remember, and I'm going to minimize this so I won't be able to see everybody. So if you do jump in and you unmute yourself, just make sure you announce who you are so I can at least call you by name, because I may not see you speaking based upon the number of people we have on. So, okay. So system one, remember, if you recall, just for a quick recap, we said, okay, we're going to attack this business with a disciplined, systematic approach to real estate. We're going to do it maybe a little bit differently than we've done in the past. We teach two different systems. One's called corn planting, and corn planting is what we are going to cover this first part. It's fast. It's designed to get you business right away, get things happening that you don't have happening now, right? That's the good news about corn. The bad news about corn is that it never stays done. It's that hamster wheel that's a continuous cycle of find a buyer, represent a buyer, find a buyer, and you pay. What about buyers? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we do focus on buyers if we're looking for instant stuff. Don't get me wrong. Right now, sellers' listings are pretty instantly selling. I get that. So if you've got a means to get some listings, far be it from me to shy you away from them. I'm not telling you don't list, all right? I'm just telling you they're not as easy to find as most people think, because first of all, when the market's great like it is for sellers, a lot of times they think they don't need us, right? I mean, have you guys discovered that all of a sudden people not only don't think they need you, they really say, hey, look, why would I pay a realtor or realtors 6% of the gross sale of this property if I can get it done and get it sold myself? Quite frankly, quick answer to that, and I think you guys may know this, but I think we discussed last time the whole idea that, hey, getting a contract is like literally step one, right? But getting from contract all the way down to the closing table is quite another journey, right? And we use the illustration where a good analogy would be going down the Whitewater River, right? That you are their guide to go down the river. That, yeah, it may look easy to get down this river, but there are some pretty hefty rapids. And who do you want better to guide you down the river than somebody that's been down the river 4 times just today, right? If you're going to just throw a raft in the river and say, hey, look, I hope I make it. Well, you don't know. You got to stay left of that big rock about 400 yards ahead. You're going to see a big rock kind of on the right-hand side of the river. You want to stay to the left of that, because you get to the right of that, you're toast. Well, only a river guide would know that, and that's your job, is to describe to a client that that's what you do. All right. So just getting, that would be my answer to a for sale by owner. Say, hey, look, I'm not concerned about you getting a contract, right? I'm more concerned about you getting to the closing table, right? There's a big difference, right? Having a contract and getting a closing table are 2 different things. So that's what my answer would be if you have sellers who think that they can just do it on their own. Needless, outside of that, if you haven't been here, we talk a lot about what we call planting corn, which is just getting in front of people at, whether they be, I teach open houses, but the general umbrella term is what we call traffic generating events, ways for me to get eyeball to eyeball with people in front of them. The beauty of this is that I'm talking a lot of times to brand new agents who don't have tons of money to invest in marketing. The good news is you don't need tons of money to invest in marketing. If you're willing to put in the good old beat the streets a little bit, all right, and that's just do open houses after open houses and find ways to get people in front of you. I'm watching some of the Facebook pages and seeing that people are having 15, 20, 25 groups of people come through, and they're not even at bank-owned open houses. I generally teach bank-owned open houses just because they tend to generate more traffic, because people think they're going to get a really good deal. So they tend to, and my goal is not to sell that home per se, but to just get a lot of traffic, right? Get people coming in so then I can have dialogues with them. But regular open houses are generating this kind of traffic right now in our current market, especially in the winter here in Florida when people are visiting. So I guarantee if you had open houses, you would have people coming through. Now, having a lot of people coming through is great, but we got to get good at this part too, right? Remember we talked briefly about all the leads or all the face-to-face contacts in the world, unconverted, are nothing but a bunch of new face-to-face contacts. All right. And let me just cover it one more time. I mean, and I'm going to remind you every time we get together when we're on this slide about corn planting. Your job is not to get people to sign in to your open house. I could care less if people sign into your open house. And you know why? Because you're never going to hear from them again anyway. You guys get all excited because you had 12 people through and 10 signed in. I could care less. Well, you know what excites me? You had 0 people sign in, but you've got 2 appointments to show property to somebody this week. That's more important to me, because I don't know if you guys have been doing this long enough to realize that the people that sign in and you're going to follow up with are you're never going to hear from them again. I'm the only guy out there, I guarantee, that's telling you this. Everybody else is trying to sell you an app that you need on your phone to help people sign in better. All right. Let me, again, if you've been following anything on the 100K page, I've got some great ideas, but I'm also your worst enemy. All right. And when I say that, it's because you don't want me as your accountability partner, right? Because let me put it this way. I don't want to hear it, right? Take your excuses, wrap them up, and do something else with them, but bring them here, right? It's not about, I'm just telling you, well, how do I get good at converting walk-in traffic? Well, I've given you ideas already in the first 2 sessions about the 4 things that they have to show me that they qualify for me to be able to even want to work with them. They have to be able to buy, which means they have to prove to me that either they have cash or can get financing. They have to be what I call willing/realistic. I don't want a buyer that says, hey, look, oh, Bob, great, nice to meet you. By the way, if you run into anything that's 70% of market value, let me know. Like, yeah, whatever, dude. I mean, that's not happening in today's market. There is no 70% of market value, right? It sold like 2 minutes after it came on the market, if there was such a thing. So the answer is A, it doesn't exist. So I want somebody that's realistic, that wants me to help them find what we would call an arm's length transaction. Willing buyer, willing seller, right? Not some desperate seller who's going to give away their house, right? So able to buy, willing to buy. 3, needs to buy, meaning that they have some level of motivation, right? That they just moved here and they're tired of living in corporate housing. They've got family following them down. They're getting out of a lease in 60 days and they're tired of paying rent, whatever. There's a needs to buy. And the 4th one is loyal to you, right? Those are the 4 criteria they have to meet to work with me as a buyer. And loyal to you doesn't mean that they sign something saying that they're loyal to you, because people won't remember they signed it and don't care that even if they do remember that they signed it. Loyal to you comes from the fact that you've convinced them that they'd be a complete fool to use anybody else but you to buy their next home, right? And there's ways to do that. So we got to get that conversion down, and we have all sorts of ways to do that. We want to become an expert in investor buying, meaning we just got to know, because we're going to run it. If you do bank-owned open houses in particular, you're going to run across investors all the time who think either they can steal something, or more importantly, they might be looking for true investments, what I call long buy and hold investors. You want to be able to talk to them with an educated language that is familiar to them, that's music to their ears. I have a class on FHR University about speak the language of an investor. I would highly encourage you to go check it out sometime and learn how to speak the language of an investor. Work first-time home buyers with vigor, meaning you got to know every program that's out there to help people, because usually the biggest hurdle that people have are down payment, all right? If they're a first-time home buyer in particular, down payment, and number 2, credit, right? Now, if they have complete trouble with both of those, they're not going to meet number 1 on my list of what they need to do to qualify as a buyer in my eyes, and that's able to buy. Doesn't mean I throw them away. If they have a willingness, remember we call those people crock pot buyers. We put them in the slow cooker and let them cook for a while. Excuse me, I've been talking a lot already this morning, so I'm trying to hydrate my vocal cords. That we put them in the crock pot and let them stew for a little bit, and they might become buyers down the road, but I'm not counting on them right now. But you want to help first-time home buyers overcome two major issues: down payment and credit. And then finally, we're going to let our buyers lead us to our listings rather than vice versa. Most real estate companies teach you got to list before you can get a buyer. I beg to differ. Well, I don't differ with that. I agree that that's a good plan. The problem is they never tell me how to get listings, right? And they never kind of are honest with me about how competitive it is to do that. So that in a nutshell, remember our goal is in 20 minutes to be done with our corn planting section of this. I'm going to reiterate this every time, because if you want business that you don't have today, you need to do something. Whether it's this or something else, you've got to create some other things. Now, unmute yourself. I'm going to open it up the floor to questions and or things that people have been experiencing. Let me ask you this. Who's done an open house over the last 2 weeks? Manny, you're muted. Tell us how it went.
Well, first of all, you owe me a dry cleaning bill.
Yeah, love it. Where'd you go?
I did a bank-owned open house,
Right?
as you said we should do.
Yeah.
I had a line out the door before the time that started. It was
Love
at
it.
1. I had it. People were there by 12:30. Didn't even get to put up my signs. I opened up the house. The stench was so bad
Nice.
that I couldn't take it. Opened up all the doors and windows.
Good.
So anyway, we had a lot of people come through with realtors that were checking out the house. It was at a great price. It was at an amazing price point. So people were going to come. We had a lot of investors. I did make contact with one investor.
Yep.
But the great thing about the whole thing was I actually got a guy that came in and asked me if I would put an offer in for him. So I ended up getting a client.
Nice.
So I already put an offer for him. We already did the high low, which is the first time I ever do it. So it was also a great learning experience. We also went to see 2 other properties besides that. So I did get a customer out of it. But then to find out, we always thought that the house smelled because they had dogs. A neighbor came by to tell me all about the people who lived there. And they literally had 3 pigs living inside the house.
Nice.
So because of your recommendation, I'm sending you my dry cleaning bill. I had to come home and take off every eye stunk. And so anyway, we get, today is the final day. So we should hear back from the bank. Fingers crossed. It was a future listing.
Yeah.
And hopefully I put
Is
in
that the one from Kristen Lee?
Yeah, Justin. Kristen.
Oh yeah, Justin. Right. Yeah, her husband. Right. Perfect.
That's correct. So we might get, a win-win for future on both sides.
See?
If I win.
That's perfect. And here's the deal. All right. A, kudos to you for taking the initiative and actually doing it. Right. Number one. Number two, isn't it amazing that you get, let me ask you this, because here's the deal. I told you I sold 100 homes a year using this method, right? And all I did, my goal was I was going to take 50 weeks a year, take 2 weekends off, 50 weeks a year, just sit Saturday and Sunday, right? And my goal was each day, if I could average 1 qualified buyer who wants to work with me out of every open house. Doesn't mean I found one every time. It means I averaged. That means I did one and I, just like you, found one. And whether you get this deal or not, sounds like you got a client that's going to use you for other deals, even if this one doesn't go through. You found your one, right? But let's say you got shut out that day, but you did another one, got shut out, and then the third day you showed up, and all of a sudden now you have 3. I guarantee that if you do this with consistency, you're going to average 1 a day. And it's as simple as, to borrow your opening line, wash, rinse, and repeat, right? Okay, it's as simple as just doing it over and over again. It's not rocket science. We're not trying to reinvent a wheel. And when you got that many people lined up and people coming through, you're trying to figure out who has their own realtor, who doesn't. You don't have time to have people sign in anyway, right? It's the
Right.
least
No,
of the problem.
I didn't have a sign-in sheet.
Right. And it doesn't matter, right? Back in the day, just so you know, I was doing FHA foreclosures similar to that, right? And they weren't even in the MLS, so I couldn't even print off an MLS sheet. So what I did is I printed a copy of the public records. That's all I had on it, right? And I photocopied my business card at the bottom of the sheet, right? And that's all I would hand them out. I'd hand out, hey, look, and here's my information if you want more. Because sometimes people are walking in and leaving, and I had people call me back later sometimes on these things. But I would suggest you always have something to hand them about the property, right? Which is perfect. But it's not like you're trying to beg them to, oh, please, please, please sign my iPad, right? Forget that mess. Just do, well, congratulations, and keep us posted on the 100K page if you get the deal.
I definitely will. By the way, it was done on a Wednesday. It wasn't even done on a weekend.
Amen. You hear that, guys? I'm telling you, people. All right. It was a Wednesday. Where did you advertise it? You said that people were lined up. Where did you advertise it?
Well, it was advertised in the MLS.
So you had the listing agent put it in the MLS as an open house.
Correct. And then I advertised in all the open house pages that I have here in my new Tampa area.
Perfect.
I advertised on my own Facebook page, and that was it.
Perfect. That's beautiful. And did you have signs?
I did have signs, but like I said, I never got a chance to put not one single sign up. I had a line of cars and people lined up to get in the house.
That's awesome. See, and you know, I'm telling you, and you guys, you know, it's just that's the one where I put out the if you guys paid attention to 100K page, Kristen put out something, hey, I've got a bank-owned open house. Anybody want to sit it? And then I put out immediately, hey, don't cry. You know, basically, I don't want to hear your excuses. Here, someone's knocking on your door saying, please sit in open house at one of my bank foreclosures. And kudos to you, Manny, for stepping up.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right.
It was a good experience.
Good job. And like you said, now you got every time you do it. And now the next time you do one of these, you walk in with a new set of, you remember the upward spiral of life we talk about in the Michael Mayer book? You've now learned, you've implemented, you maybe failed. Some of you had some success, but failed. And now you're going to evaluate that. And the next time you sit one of these, you'll say, hey, if I had to do it over again, I would do this better, right?
Right.
But you're never going to know that until you get to the I part, which is the actual implementation. So kudos to you. Anybody else have an open house, whether bank owned, regular, anybody? No one? All right, let me be your accountability partner. Stop whining about no business then. If you're going to sit there on your hands and not do anything, don't cry to me about having zero business. I don't want to hear it. You lose it's like you complaining about our elected officials and not going to vote. All right, same thing. Don't cry to me about who represents us if you sit on your thumbs and don't go vote, right? You know, it's falling on deaf ears. I don't want to hear it. Now, again, I get it, but I'm just going to challenge you to go. I don't know what else I can do. I've written you an email, right, that shows you how to email bank-owned REO agents to see what they do.
I have a question.
Yeah, who is this?
Oh, it's Nicole. Sorry.
Nicole.
I can't see where I'm coming up, but maybe I missed it in the last 100K session. Did we
Yep.
talk about getting contacts with bank-owned open houses? I did not get the email or.
No problem.
the
Well, are you on the
info on
Facebook
my-
page?
I'm on the 100K Facebook page. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. On that, I put out an email. I bumped it to the top, and you can research it and find it. You need to do a little search, and you'll find, you know, REO open house or bank-owned open house email. I kind of gave a sample email that you can send to REO people. Right now, REO people, you can find in the MLS, there's an REO, real estate owned. That means bank-owned. Button
Oh,
or a
yeah.
search
So
parameter.
I'm allowed to do open houses for any broker. I know you've said
100%,
that.
yeah. This one happened to be a future home agent who had the REO. You know, that was kind of Manny just stepping in it. That was just like, you know, falling in his lap. But most of the time, it's not FHR agents. It's people from RE/MAX and whoever has these REO listings. You just reach out to them and say, hey, look, you know, I'm looking to generate business. I'd like to make it a win-win. There's certain things that maybe you need done while I'm there, like snap photos of certain things, make sure the pigs have been removed from the house or whatever it may be. But I'm happy to do that, but would you mind? And all you need is a go for it email response saying, some type of written permission to sit an open house at their listing.
Okay. So all the other criteria we're discussing, I guess maybe the last session I was on the phone, so I think I wasn't able to see all the slides.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, and I didn't go over the slides, but I would use the Facebook page. Manny said he had, did you have bank foreclosure open house signs ready, Manny, or what did you have? I know you didn't get them out.
I had my regular open house signs with the arrows telling, pointing, and
Yep.
then I created my own because I didn't have, so I just did a PowerPoint that said bank-owned open houses. I clipped it to a regular open house sign.
Yep.
And that's just what I had right in the front of the house because I didn't have time to get something.
Perfect. That's good. If you guys go on the Facebook page, there are people who have loaded under images or under files, pictures of their bank foreclosure open house signs that they've used in the past. There's people that may not be using theirs right now because they've got plenty of business and they don't need to plant or harvest any corn right now. So I'd reach out to some of them and say, hey, can I borrow your bank foreclosure open house sign for the next couple weeks? I mean, just get creative. Again, worst accountability partner you're going to have is, FIO, figure it out, right? You're smart people. Yeah, I have full confidence that you guys could figure out a way to A, find an open house that you want to sit, and B, get some signs and ready to roll. I mean, I'm here to help you, but it's all other than compiling all the data, it's all there. All right. Great question, Nicole. Thank you for asking. Anybody else had anything? Let me put this out there, and you don't have to tell us who you are if you don't want. You can be anonymous, right? What's holding you back from sitting one of these if you need business?
This is Brian.
Okay.
Miguel, Manuel, he talked about creating the sign and everything, and I ordered my signs. That's why I haven't set one up. So when I heard him say that, I was like, man, I could have done that, So it's one of those like light bulbs that go off, and you're like, oh man, I should have, that's smart.
Yep. You know what? And I've seen, if you guys, and I don't know if and I'm just throwing ideas out there. Some people have their regular open house signs, right? It says, Future Home Realty open house, or even I've seen people go to, in a pinch, go to Home Depot because they sell open house signs. The Board of Realtors sells regular generic open house signs, right? And they usually are that corrugated, right? You can picture the corrugated signs, and they have the little holes, and they have those little wires that you stick the wires through the holes, and that's how they stand. Well, if you go to Home Depot, they also sell mini, not M-A-N, well, probably M-A-N-Y as well, but M-I-N-I, mini, like 6-inch by 12 by 24-inch riders, right? That would be like a rider to a sign. And you could write with a magic marker, bank foreclosure, and stick that on top of the sign.
Okay.
Right, it has wires, like smaller wires that come along with it as well, and it goes on top of your corrugated. It fits in the top part of the corrugation because you already got the bottom where the regular frame is going, and you can do that. I'm just telling you, in a pinch, it doesn't. Don't wait for perfection. Remember, we talked about the George Patton quote last time. I think was George Patton, the famous general, says, a good plan executed today is far better than a perfect plan never executed. Right.
Okay.
So just go for it and figure out a way and get things done. But thanks for being honest and saying, hey, look, and sometimes it's why these groups are important. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I should have done it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now Manny's ahead of me. He's working a buyer that could have been mine, maybe, or who knows, right? Or one like that could have been out there and could have been for me. Cool.
Gotcha. Yep.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Bob, this is Mara. Listen,
Hey, Mara.
Denise cannot talk, but she wanted everybody to know that she did hold an open house last weekend
Yeah.
on her own, and she got 3 active clients from that open house.
Nice.
And she may have a few other leads as well.
Beautiful. And this is Denise who, do you know?
She just has her first name as
That's
Denise.
right. That's perfect. No problem.
Sorry.
Thanks for chiming in. That's great. Good job, Denise. We'll give you a thumbs up. I don't know if you're have coronavirus and can't talk because you have, a mask on, or I don't know if you can't talk because you're in the middle of a closing right now. So that's either way, it's good by me. So kudos to you. Good job. Good job. Anybody else got anything they want to share before we jump out of this? Like I said, we're not going to spend a ton of time. Yeah, Deb.
I have a question. You mentioned we need some type of written permission to do that. What
From a
exactly
listing
does
agent.
that need to entail?
Say again.
Is there something special, or they just write it on a piece of paper? Or I know that
Well,
sounds stupid,
literally, a
but-
lot of times it's just even a reply to a text message or an email,
Okay.
right?
All
Just
right,
something,
that's
and
pretty
save
good.
that, just so that if all of a sudden you're there and the listing agent shows up and says, what the are you doing at my house, my listing, right? You say, oh, don't you remember? I texted you about setting an open house. I said I wanted to do it Saturday from 1 to 4, and you said go for it. See, here's my text, right? Just
All right.
yeah,
That sounds good.
yeah, something as simple as that. Nothing formalized.
Okay.
Perfect. No need to have it notarized.
Okay.
Cool. Anybody else got questions on this? I'm just telling you, here's the synergy part. Remember we talked about how we're going to do this, and the part of it, all of a sudden Brian says, dadgummit, Manny did it, and now he's got a buyer. And then Denise has 3 buyers that she didn't have, 2 weeks ago. And everybody else is saying, you know what? I can do this, right? Dadgummit, look at Manny. I mean, he's a nice guy, but he's not that sharp. And if he can do it, I can do it, right? I'm just teasing you, Manny. All right. Yeah, I only tease those I know that can take it. So it's all good. It's just, but that's the whole idea of having these meetings, is that we get energized and motivated to say, hey, look, you know what, it's working for others. Let me give it a shot. Here's the beauty too. You got other things you need to get done. Take a laptop, take an air card, and do some of your other work while you're sitting there. People ask, oh, I don't know if I join Future Home Realty because you guys don't have floor time. Well, yeah, we do. Go sit at a bank-owned open house. There's your floor. It's all the floor time you need, right? You got people lining up at your door. Last I saw, people weren't lined up 12 deep at the Coldwell Banker office waiting to, come in the office and search for real estate, as soon as they opened up, right? But they were at Manny's open house because it said bank foreclosure on it. So I think it's better than floor time to be able to do that. Fair enough? Cool. All right. As always, reach out, utilize the group. If you're not using the Facebook page as a resource, if you haven't discovered how helpful the people are, you realize that we've been doing this 100K for years now. And we've got agents that are very, very successful, that are, quite frankly, probably beyond some of this corn planting stuff, right? But they're also very mindful of where they came from and are more than willing to say, hey, look, Manny, or whoever's asking the question, let me tell you what I did for my signs. And here's a copy of one that I just went out to my garage and I found my old signs. And matter of fact, I haven't used them in 3 years. If anybody wants to, buy them off me for $2 a piece, let me know, right? Or whatever. You never know what's out there, and you'll be amazed at how helpful the people are that have walked this ahead of you, right? That have done it. Cool? All right, let's move on. Second part we talked about is orange groves. If you remember orange groves, that the idea would be that maybe eventually while we're doing corn, or later on after we're done with corn and we now can just have orange groves. Why are orange groves better, right? Well, it's different. One of the things that makes it better is that as corn, you actually chop it down to harvest it, right? And then in order to reap corn again, I have to replant every year. It's an ongoing cycle. We also like to teach an orange grove concept because the oranges, once the trees are flourished and bearing fruit, I just come along and pick them, right? And I don't chop down the tree to pick the fruit. And eventually we'd like to have more of our business being an orange grove, right? And that's people. The cool thing is, Manny, you don't know this, and Denise, who has 3 new buyers, potentially this buyer that you're working with, Manny, Denise, the 3 that you're working with, and others that have others from open houses, they may become orange trees for you, right? It all starts with an interaction, and you never know where that might end up. So that's the beauty of it, is that it could end up being an orange grove sometime too, right? Or one of the trees in your orange grove, all right? And that's a cool thing. So in the book, you should have read the 7 levels of communication, right? I haven't decided where our next book is going to be yet. I'm giving you a little bit of a break because I've been a little bit slammed, so we'll work on that. But for right now, we're still going to focus on going back and implementing some of the stuff we learned in the 7 levels of communication. But I want to cover what he calls in the book the 4 enriching rituals. All right. I kind of taught these so many times. I know them by heart. On my book, it's the hardcover copy. It's on pages 60 and 61 where he introduces them. Right in the book. Remember when if you remember the story, the guy. What's the agent's name? What's the main character? Anybody?
Rick.
Rick? Yeah. So Rick, he was about ready to quit. Remember, he goes to the seminar, decides to sign up for coaching, right? Gets to assign this coach who every time he tries to give us coach some type of excuse, his coach fires back with a cockamamie, right, at him. And basically it's his version of BS. I don't want to hear it, right? But he assigns him these 4 enriching rituals, right? And these are things that you have seen before in other books. If you go to any training, if you go to a Tony Robbins seminar, they're going to talk about this, right? You go to a Zig Ziglar event, they're going to talk about this. If you go to a Brian Tracy or whatever, any of this stuff is all about having some rituals and some systems in place to help you work on your mind so you can be prepared to service your clients, right? Now, in the morning ritual, I'm going to encourage you later on to do that. One of our goals is to make sure we get these covered. But the morning ritual includes affirmations. Those are just positive things that you say to yourself let me show you real quick. I'm not going to, this is from a different book I read, but it's along the affirmation thing. I have something I read every day. It's laminated. I'm a big laminating guy, right? None of you can see that, but it says, who is Bob McDougall, right? And it goes through, and I read this every day, and I put it in a personal thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it starts something like this. I lead a balanced life. I read the best literature and magazines and keep up with current affairs and events. I am active socially and have many friends and a few confidants. I'm active intellectually, having many interests. I read, watch, observe, and learn. I'm active physically. I have a lot of fun. I enjoy myself. I have a healthy sense of humor, particularly laughing at myself and not at another's expense. I have a healthy regard for and honesty about myself. I can feel my own worth, which is manifest by my courage and integrity, and by the absence of my need to brag, to drop names, to borrow strength from possessions or credentials or titles or past achievements. I'm open in my communication, simple, direct, non-manipulative. I also have a sense of what is appropriate. I would sooner err on the side of understatement than on the side of exaggeration. And it goes on and on. Those are just the first 2 paragraphs, right? Now, I've been reading this for the last probably 6 weeks after I created this, right? And I'm already beginning to memorize it, right? Eventually, it's going to just be part of who I am. That is something that you want to do with some type of affirmation, right? You want to make it personal so that you're talking to yourself about you, right? And you're getting that done. So think about doing affirmations. Blessings. He encouraged you to have a blessings book where I got to focus on, I don't want to focus on the negative, right? I could do that all day long. I want to focus on things that I have that are positive in my life right now. Then I'm going to spend some time on personal prep, exercise. By the way, I make a quick note, if you want to overachieve, there's a follow-up to this book that follows Rick's journey into the next portion. It's called Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents. It's co-written by Hal Elrod and Michael Mayer, right? It's called The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents. It's not an assigned book, but I'm encouraging you, if you're looking for, hey, what happens to Rick after the fact, all right? You can get a sense of what goes on after that, all right? So that's part of our morning ritual, right? And you got to find time to do it. Now, part of that would be, and I want to spend a little bit of time on this, is what I call the pre-leave ritual. It's the first time I introduced the pre-leave ritual in this group of 100K. And I want to share with you an exciting thing we discovered. I'm going to move this so you can see my whole slide. All right. If you remember in the pre-leave ritual, this is before you leave your business, right? Before you're done for the day. Now, most of you are going to look at me. If I were teaching this live to you, you would say, Bob, I never end my day, right? My clients are calling me till 9:55 at night. All right. Well, you need to learn to leave your day. Number one. Okay. This business can kill you if you allow it to. Nothing wrong with working hard, but you need to set some boundaries sometimes. Right. And it's okay to say, I'll get back to you tomorrow on that. Right. We call it learn to flip the sign. What I mean by that, flipping the sign means this. If I owned a bakery, right, which you wouldn't want me to own a bakery because you wouldn't probably like what I fed you, right? But if I owned a bakery, there is a time that I look and say, oh, it's 4 o'clock. It's time to close. And I flip the sign from open to closed, right? You got to learn, sometimes you got to set some boundaries in your real estate business and learn to flip the sign. Okay, not flip the bird, flip the sign. Okay, there's a distinct difference. So we have the ability to flip the sign and say, hey, look, I'm closed for today. I'll be back tomorrow. But I'm going to share with you right here, and I want you to listen to me. If you're not focused on what I've been saying over the last couple minutes, if you miss nothing, if you gain nothing from our session today other than this idea of a 1st and 10 for the next day, then forget everything else and just remember this, especially in the Orange Grove section. 1st and 10. So let me give you an example. Right now, I happen to be at a meeting room at a Hampton Inn where we have our Orlando office meetings, right? After I get done here, I'm going to check emails and do some stuff. And then pretty soon after that, it's going to be time to go pick up Samuel from his bus stop, right? I am going to set an alarm on my phone, right? Because people say, well, I don't have a desk because wherever my laptop is, that's where I am, right? That's my office. And I get it. I'm that way. You go to all the offices in the Future Home Realty thing, you're never going to see one that has a sign on the door that says, outside one of the individual offices says Bob McDougall's office. So I don't have one, right? I roam wherever my laptop is where I am, right? But so right now, this is my office for the day or for the remainder of the day. So I'm going to get some stuff answered, get some stuff planned for tomorrow and so on and so forth. But I'm going to, on my phone, set an alarm for 10 minutes before I need to leave and be packed up and on the road to pick up Samuel. Why? Because that 10-minute alarm is going to tell me that I need to do my 1st and 10 for the next day. Now here's an example for you. Let's say you have 3 pending transactions right now, all right? And you've got 2 potential listing appointments and you've got other things going. So you've got all these files spread across your desk right now, right? What you have done in the past is look at your watch and say, oh crap, it's time to go coach my son's soccer team, right? And I'm already 5 minutes late. You get up, you slam your laptop down and you bolt out the door, all right? Running as fast as you can, all right? Wrong. Here's what you're gonna do from here on out. You're gonna set that alarm like I just talked about, and you're gonna, 10 minutes before, you're gonna go through each of your open files. So I've got this file opened right here. It's the buyer who's buying 123 Main Street, okay? So I've got that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out a separate sheet of paper, okay? And I'm gonna write down, where am I in this file? Oh yeah, tomorrow I need to follow up. The appraisal was done 2 days ago. It should have been back by now, okay? Number 1, appraisal on 123 Main Street, appraiser's name, John Smith, phone number 813-222-1234. I write it down on this sheet called my 1st and 10. All right. Then what do? If there's anything else in that file that I'm in that I need to do tomorrow on that, I write it down, close it. Got it? Go to the next file. It's not going to take me very long at all. Why? Because I was just working on these files. I know what I need to do. I was just in the midst of this file. Are you with me? All right. So now I'm going to write down I go through file by file by file, close them all up, have my list. It might be 6, it might be 10, it might be 12 things, doesn't matter, tomorrow. But now I've got a list that has everything I need to do first thing tomorrow. It has the name of the person, whether it's their email, I need to email them, phone call I need to make, whatever. Because here's what happens, and this, trust me from this, I learned it from experience. If I just slammed everything down and ran out the door, then tomorrow when I come back, it's going to take me 45 minutes to remember where I was in each of the files. before I can even begin remembering, oh yeah, I need to call the appraiser on this deal, right? Whereas if I just took 10 minutes while I'm in it right now, all right, and get my list for tomorrow, it enables me to do two things. Hear me on this, all right? This is gold, right? So mark it, whatever, how far we are into the session. So if you want to go back and re-listen to it after it's posted, after we, because we record these, right? To remind yourself, this is gold right here. I wish I would have learned it way earlier in my life, okay? Allows me to do two things. It allows me to be way more productive, like 100 times more productive tomorrow morning when I come in, right? Because I already got my list of things to do. In 20 minutes, I'm going to be done with what was going to take me 45 minutes to even get my mind wrapped around what needed to be done tomorrow in the past. I just gained an hour of my life by doing that one thing. Because remember, there's freedom in structure, right? I just gained an hour of freedom tomorrow by being structured today. Are you with me? Yes? Okay. Somebody give me a head nod at least to let them know that I'm not on mute. I've been on mute for the last 20 minutes and I didn't know it. All right, cool. All right, good deal. That's number one. You're gonna be way more productive tomorrow because you're structured and there's freedom in structure. Number two, catch this. It allows me to flip the sign. What do I mean by that? If I slam my laptop down, ran out the door, in my mind, I'm panicked. It's like, oh man, I was running late. What did I miss on those files that I had open, right? So now you're coaching your son's soccer team, but when you're supposed to be working on the half court or the half field trap that you're supposed to be teaching them, your mind's on the appraiser. What was that appraiser's name on Main Street, right? And all of a sudden, you're not fully engaged in your coaching role. It allows you to flip the sign, close up business for the day, right? Because I've got a plan for what I'm going to do tomorrow. I've closed up business for today, and now I can go be a coach. I can now be a dad. I can be a better husband. I can be a better church board member when I'm at the church board meeting later tonight, whatever it is, right? Okay, I can go to my next role with confidence, knowing that I've got a plan for how I'm going to attack my business tomorrow. Are you with me? It changed my life, right? That ability to do that, to have the structure. And the beauty is, I'm telling you, it's going to be that 10-minute alarm that you set before you have to go that's going to allow you to close up shop and get things done. It is that whole concept. You see what I have here? First intents for the next day and time block for the next day. That's all. It takes no more than 10 minutes to do that. And for me, desk in order, you know what that means? Make sure my laptop's packed up and everything's in my laptop bag, right? That's because that's packing up my desk. Because right now I'm at, like I said, the Hampton Inn. I'm not going to be here tomorrow. So if I tried to leave here and leave my laptop here, I'd be screwed anyway, right? Because I'm not coming back here tomorrow. So it forces me to do that. Everybody with me on that pre-leave ritual? I'm telling you, highlight it, mark it, make it a way of life. It will change the way you attack your days. People that say, oh, my days are so harried and frenzied, I don't feel like I'm on top of things. I get it, all right? Make a small tweak. If you continue to do what you do, you're never going to change, right? Make that one small tweak, and it can make a world of difference in your life. Any questions on that pre-leave ritual stuff? Nope? Good? Okay. Next ritual, pre-sleep ritual that he covers. It's a visualization and prayer, right? Some people call it meditation. And I encourage you this, just like I told you to have your phone with you in 10 minutes before. Here's what I'm going to tell you and encourage you to do. And this is, again, you can do whatever you want. I'm just telling you my own personal experience. I've got to physically put this away from my body for 30 minutes before I go to bed. Have to. If not, it is the 2020s version of crack. All right? I'm telling you, I can't get away from it. I have to physically remove myself from it because there's something I got to check. There's a score. How did the Nashville Predators do in hockey last night? Who gives a flying flip, right? I'll check it in the morning, right? But what I found is, or worse yet, hey, I think the next episode of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel just came live on Prime, right? Or whatever the thing that's drawing me away from a restful night's sleep. And I found that I've got to step away from electronics for 30 minutes before I can go to bed and sleep well. That's me personally. You might be able to do it for less. I'm just telling you and I fight this. I'm not saying I got it licked, right? This is something I fight to this day, and I'm continuing to grow with and do. But instead, if I spent time for me in the Bible, all right, praying for my next day. And when I say visualization, sometimes it's reflecting on my day, right? Saying, hey, what did I do well and what things could I have done better, right? And just trying to get a plan and something wrapped around. Here's a good thought. Let me give you this piece of advice. How about if we just did half of what we tell our kids to do? Right? You don't allow your kids to, hey, look, you got to get off your gaming, at least an hour before bedtime. Well, that's great. How about you, Dad? Right? So my 17-year-old says to me, and I don't blame him, right? Because it's true. So if we just can live our lives the way we tell our kids to live their lives, we'd probably be a lot better off. That's my own personal opinion, but that's just me. All right. That's the pre-sleep. And then finally, I'm a big fan of this one. This is called what we call the Sunday night ritual. This is once a week. All we're going to do is, technically, one thing I should add here is before even planning the week is review the week we just had. Right? So we want to do a quick review of our previous week to find out, hey, look, I was supposed to sit 2 bank-owned open houses, or better yet, even more specific, I should be working with 2 new buyers that I didn't have last week at this time. Did I accomplish that goal? Right? Right? And if the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, then hey, look, in addition to my Saturday and Sunday, let's take Manny's advice and sit an open house on a Wednesday. Right? Whatever I need to do to catch up so that I get back on track with what I need to do. Again, I plan my week, but I work from an old school planner myself, right? Do whatever works for you. But for me, I like to have the written stuff down, but I plan it. But is there things that are scratched out and moved and arrows moved to different days and so on? Yeah, all the time, right? But it beats the heck of going after waking up Monday morning and saying, what the heck? Right? I have no idea what's going on this week. And there's things, I don't just have business things in here, right? I've got times I'm supposed to be picking up kids from school, or times I'm supposed to be, making sure the house is prepped for our painters that are coming, or whatever I've got going on, right? I still got to write things down and make sure they're there. But I'm going to highly encourage you that you guys begin to implement these 4 rituals, even if you just did it slowly. Right? What if just one morning this week you did a morning ritual? Just one, right? What if one time you started with because here's what happens. You understand that as you begin to implement things like this, you'll start to see the results, and it'll be easier to do because you like results, right? It's hard to go on faith, but if you just try it once and say, hey, look, let me compare the 2 days. Day 1, I did I did my morning ritual. Day 2, I didn't. Which one ended up better? Right? And pretty soon you just start to see a correlation that as I begin to structure myself, I feel better about me, and business gets better, my life gets better, my relationships get better, everything, seems to just fall in place when I do it. So why don't I correlate those things and do the things that give me better days? Are you with me? Okay. It's quite frankly that simple. All right. Okay. So, let me go back real quick. Any questions on these? Thoughts? People that are implementing this? Anybody?
Well, I'll say that I have been doing something like that my entire life, because I took a class years ago, Franklin Quest Time Management.
Thank you.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, which is, by the way, they merged with Stephen Covey's group, right, years ago. And I'm a big Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People guy. So kudos to you, Manny. I love it.
The only thing that I would add to that, if you don't mind, is
Yeah.
that in that class, they teach you that if you put a check mark on that list of things you do, you get the same amount of endorphins as exercising because you've completed a task. So that's the only thing I still do that to this day. I put a check mark next to everything, and so move it forward.
And you know what? Do you think that it's coincidental that kindergarten teachers put gold stars on work? People crave, we crave,
Right.
I crave some type of confirmation of a job well done, right? And that check mark that Manny just talked about, crossing off something off of your list. There have been times that have been on my list that I was so happy to get it off my list that I like burned through the paper because I rubbed it out so hard, like dadgummit, I finally got that done, right? It's, and so I agree with you 100%, Manny. Good input, and thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Anybody else got anything for me? I'm telling you, that 1st and 10 thing is going to revolutionize what you do. All right, setting up before you leave 10 minutes early in your mind, set that alarm and get yourself cleaned up before you go. You're going to feel way better. You're not going to get traffic tickets while you're trying to drive to your son's soccer practice and everything else. Your life gets better all the way around. All right, the weather gets better, humidity goes away. It's just amazing what happened. All right. All of a sudden you walk out in July in Florida and there's no humidity just because you did the 1st and 10. I promise. All right. You guys are a tough crowd, I'm telling you.
Can I ask
Especially
a
when you're on
question
mute.
not related to 1st and 10?
What's that?
Can I ask a question not related to 1st and 10?
You absolutely can. This is Nicole, right?
Yeah, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
It has to do with the potential listing. They were saying that they wanted to wait 5 years to avoid the capital gains. To get one of the owners had lived in it for 2 years.
Mhm.
So, because I guess there's 3 owners on the deed.
Yep.
So I was wondering, well, I did the CMA for them, but they seem to not be the best to get a hold of. I mean, how often do you think I need to follow up on a
Well,
potential?
I would follow up with them 2 things. I'd follow up with the name of a great tax professional,
Mhm.
right? That could give
Yeah.
best advise them as what their options are regarding
Yeah.
that. I'd also follow up with, hey, something you might want to consider is a 1031 exchange, depending on what they're doing with that property, right?
Yeah.
Because the 1031 exchange doesn't allow you to avoid capital gains tax. It just defers it, but it may be a better solution for them. And that may be the same person, right? But what you're looking for are solutions for them, right? It goes back to our generosity generation book, right? Is that we're not looking to necessarily secure the listing. We're trying to help them overcome a problem, right?
Uh-huh.
And so when you do that, I would find somebody that can help them with those 2 issues, whether a tax professional and 1031 options, or it could be one and the same, right? That,
Mhm.
hey, look, that they'd be able to do it, and they follow them. Now, again, I wouldn't follow up them forever. If they're not responding to you, then I just move on, keep them, might want to put them on a little drip campaign once a month, hey,
Yeah.
just checking in. But,
I'm worried they have a property management company. I'm worried they're going to end up giving the listing to them because they're probably incompetent. I mean, I've met them before and I worked with them before last year, but
right.
they didn't tell me I definitely had the listing, and
Yeah.
I obviously did the CMA anyway, but I didn't want to lose the listing to somebody else. So
No,
wasn't
and you
sure.
should, but but you can't. I mean, all you do is you take your best shot and see what happens, right? And
Yeah,
you
I've
still
been.
follow up and then help them, and then maybe come up
Uh-huh.
with some outside of the box solutions, like I talked about, that maybe this other company's not thinking about. But at the end of the day, they choose somebody else. My thought would be go sit a bank-owned open house and go find 4 other buyers. So this comes.
So it doesn't bother me. Well, my
Exactly.
other problem is, do I offer them a discount, a listing without, they don't live in this area. So most of the conversations are going to be on the phone. Do I offer them a discount to try to, I don't want to say undercut the property management, but to make sure that they work with me? Or you think that's the last thing I should do?
Well, first of all, I think it's one of the last things you should do, number one. Number two, don't talk yourself into overcoming objections that don't exist,
Mm-hmm.
right? Have they told you that one of the biggest problems right now is the commission?
No, we never got that far. They just told me
So-
they might make a decision in the next couple months.
That's fine. Yeah, I would just stay in touch with them, but don't convince yourself that, hey, oh my gosh, and offer, there's a rule in negotiating, says first one to speak loses, right?
Yeah.
And you might have offered like, well, shoot, if you're going to do it for 5 or 4.5%, I'll take it. But I would, that wasn't even an issue. It wasn't even on my mind, but shoot, yeah. I mean, if you're going to throw 1.5% extra extra net to me, I'm not going to turn it down. All right. So I wouldn't, necessarily go there right away. I'd be prepared for it and what your answer would be if they ask you. But by the way, quick aside, this is totally off. One of the best things I learned to do when people asked me to negotiate commissions because somebody else had already presented to them and they offered a reduced commission. I said, that's interesting to me. So let's say, Nicole, you're the seller. You say, hey, Bob, I appreciate it. And I really like you better, but 6%. And this other guy, right away, he already offered that he'd do it for 4.5 or 5 or something like that. I'd say, Nicole, that's awesome. I said, that's interesting to me. I said, because that's your money. I mean, that's his money. He's negotiating away, right? Because he's willing to take a cut in commission. My only thought is, if he's that quick to negotiate his own money, how quick is he going to negotiate your money when it comes trying to negotiate the best price for your home, right? If he's that quick to negotiate away just like off that, his commission, then when somebody brings you an offer that's maybe $15,000 less than what he's thought your home should sell for, he's going to be pushing you to take that offer, take that offer, take that offer, take that offer, and maybe it's not the best deal. So, it's not about what you sell for, it's about what you net, or not how much you pay in commission, it's about what you net at the end of the day. And I've proven over my history, here it is, that I am able to get people 99.37% of asking price. I don't know what his numbers are, but you may end up even paying me a full commission better off. So just a quick aside, but then everybody runs their business differently. I'm not telling you to not reduce your commission, but I certainly wouldn't offer it up before somebody starts talking to you about it. Cool?
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Cool. You're welcome. By the way, these are all kind of great things that you can always ask, but Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we have virtual office hours as well on Zoom, 1 to 2 Eastern. You're always welcome to jump in. Not that you have to wait there. You can ask that now too, but not that you have to wait till then to do it. You can always, call and ask a question, but those are the kind of things that you may want to ask as well if you ever want to log into virtual office hours. We always have Jim and I kind of trade back and forth, and we have them there. They're always posted. Cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions on this before we move on? All right. Here's our suggestions. When I say suggestions, I used to call these, here's your assignments, but I remember that you're 1099 independent contractor, so I can't assign you anything because that would be too much. I might be violating my employee-employer relationship with you, all right, because you're not my employees. But so instead of here's your assignment, here are some suggestions for you. Got it? Everybody got that? And if I ever have to defend myself in a tax court, I'm going to replay this video and say, hey, look, I told them it was a suggestion, Your Honor. I didn't say they had to do it. By the way, I misspelled suggestions. Let me correct that. Hang on.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff bothers me. All right, let's see. Oop, capitalize. See, there it is. Now it's fixed. Good deal. All right, suggestions for the committee. All right. I want you one time this week, do the morning ritual. Just one. I'm not asking you to do it every day. Just one morning. Okay. Pre-sleep, same thing. One time. Not asking you to do it every day. All right. If you're like Manny and you're used to it, do it. Right. But if this is all new to you, slowly inch your way into this stuff. Do the first and 10. Right. Next time you're going to have to leave. You're working on some things and you're going to have to leave. I challenge you to set your alarm for 10 minutes ahead. Okay. Just do it one time just to see. It sounds crazy, whatever, okay? Call me what you will, all right? But just try it, okay? Time block. It doesn't take 45 minutes to time block. You don't need to time block your time blocking, okay? I'm just telling you, plan your week by doing, your first and 10 on a Sunday night, right? Physical fitness, continue to do that, guys. You're gonna learn. Manny talked the endorphins. They get fired up when you get to checkbox something, right? And it's true. But it's also true, he says you get the same as working out. It's true. right? When you work out, you feel better, you get things going, you don't get the, mid-afternoon slump going, you don't need to caffeinate yourself all the time. It's just all sorts of things come. How about power notes? I'm going to challenge you if you want. Take this challenge. He talks about power notes in the book, right? These, go to the glossary of the book if you wonder what's in a power note, and it'll walk you through what to do, right? It should be not something where you're asking for business, just checking in with people, right? Traffic generating event. Manny did one. Denise did one, all right? What's stopping you, right? Brian's waiting for his signs to come in. I'm going to bust your chops a little bit, Brian. All right. Traffic generating event. Just go do it. I appreciate your honesty, though. Everybody else did the same thing. At least you were willing to step up and say it. So,
Hey, Bob,
yeah.
I'm waiting on my signs too, honestly.
Okay. See, I get it. Go hand make some. I just told you how to overcome that. Go borrow some from
now
somebody.
I'm fessing up too.
And see, good deal. I appreciate you fessing up. Good job. That was Deb, by the way, Deb Jennings. Thanks, Deb. Get an accountability partner, one who's going to truly do it. By the way, we got our grow session this month is on effective accountability. I'm not going to do it live, but I'm going to be doing it on Zoom. The first one's coming up Monday at 10 a.m. You'll see a link on all of our Facebook pages. It's on the FHR calendar about if you and your accountability partner want to come to that virtually, right? We're going to cover a pattern or a system to having good, effective accountability, right? Instead of just we had a cup of coffee and nothing got done. All right, we're gonna focus on that. Get an accountability Sunday night ritual. I'm gonna promote this till the day I die. All right, if I die on a Monday, I guarantee on Sunday we'll have done a Sunday night ritual. All right, I promise you that. All right, and start by making small promises to yourself and keeping them. That's my vision for this, right? There's a book that we read in our book club called Principle-Centered Leadership by Stephen Covey. And what he talks about in there is that until you can make yourself a promise and keep it, you're never going to trust yourself. All right? So having these grand plans of, I'm going to sell 42 homes this year. Well, how about if we start by doing a morning ritual one day this week? Because I'm telling you, that's the process that begins I said I was going to do it, and I did it, right? I am now worthy of trust. Other people might call that, here, you ready for this one? For you linguists out there, worthy of trust equals trustworthy, right? And when I'm trustworthy, people want to do business with me because I am worthy of trust, right? But it starts with me being worthy of trust to myself, okay? I'm just telling you, little things start the ball rolling, right? A journey of 1,000 miles start with a single step. I can quote you self-help stuff for days because I've been in the midst of this for days and it will never end for me. I'm continuing to do it, right? It's just start by making some small promises to yourselves and keeping them so that you can prove to yourself that you're worthy of the trust. Cool? Fair enough? All right. Don't forget your commitments to the team. All these things we agreed to do. Remember these? These should be stapled somewhere on your bulletin board or taped to your mirror in your bathroom or wherever they might be. All right. But these are the things that you've agreed that you're going to do. All right. Let's take a look at the calendar and see when we meet next. I know all you millennials are laughing at me. You Gen Zers are laughing at me going to my paper calendar. All right. But that's okay. I did learn how to set an alarm on my phone. At least that was growth for me. All right. You guys know Cody Limber? Yeah, you guys, some of you met Cody. Remember he was at the first meeting there and does that coaching session. Cody's a good guy. He said, "Hey Bob, I got to teach you the millennial in me has got to warn you that you're doing the hashtags in some of your posts, and as soon as you put punctuation in it, it ends the link on the hashtag thing. So he had to teach me. He said, let me teach you. I'm a Gen Z. I'm a Gen X my wife says I still have too much baby boomer because I'm like right on the edge. She goes, she claims I have too much baby boomer in me, and I need to get more Gen X in me. So I'm trying to work on that. So yeah, baby boomers don't get you. I know you don't get your feathers ruffled. We've got issues. All right, let's see. You know what? There's a break because let's see. When is it? Today's the 4th, 11th. 18th. We're actually going to be 3 weeks before our next official meeting because I've got spring break on the 18th. I don't, but my kids do. So we're going to go all the way to the 25th is the next time we have one scheduled. So just so you're aware, that means you've got things to do between now and then, right? Are you with me? So make sure you post in. You can jump into some of the virtual office hours if I'm hosting them. You can jump into the Zoom sessions if you want to. I'm sorry, the Grow sessions. I got 2 of those planned in between the now times that we meet on Mondays. So take a look at that. But the official time, and it'll be back to 10 a.m., 10 to 11:30 on Wednesday, March 25th is our next planned 100K meeting. Cool? Good deal? Hey, we're ending early. Look at me. That gives me more time to get stuff done before I have to set my alarm. Brian, you got a question?
Yeah,
I have a question.
Okay,
you said,
Brian first, and then we'll come back to you.
you said there's no signed book this for right now.
No, but if you're jonesing for one, try that A Miracle Morning for real estate agents. I think you'd like that. If you like
I wrote that.
if you like the 7 levels, you'll like that because it gets into the story of Rick.
Okay.
And it's really good, really good.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry. And who's this that's on the phone?
Oh, that was the same. That was me, Nicole. I switched to the phone.
Oh, okay. Hey, Nicole. Oh, okay, gotcha. What's your question?
Oh, the same question he asked. I
Oh,
wasn't sure
book?
if there was another book.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
again, there are several books I could recommend, but that's a great one. If you're looking for something that's going to help you start to implement some of this stuff, I think that Miracle Morning for real estate agents would be a great one. It's not an official assignment, but those of you who want to overachieve will. And you'll also not wait to have your signs before you do your open house, but that's all right.
Doug, may I ask you one quick question?
Yes, you may, Anna. How are you? Good to see your face.
Good to see you too. I'm going for the appointment, but I got the email from Caliber to rewrite the contract because the buyer is LLC, and now they need the buyer's name, like physical, person's name. And I told them we cannot have 2 contracts. We need to have an addendum or maybe assign the contract. I would like.
You need to change the name. Yeah, you do it like just, hey, look, all parties agree that the buyer's name shall be, and you'd have to have it signed by the old buyer and the new buyer.
Yes, and I don't have to rewrite because I said we cannot have 2 contracts. What are you
Correct.
asking?
You don't want 2 contracts out there floating around.
Yes.
You just want to rename the buyer and the original
some like
contract.
addendum to the contract. The buyer is this buyer, not that buyer. Yes,
That is
so
correct.
it's assigned to this buyer.
And it has to be signed by both buyers and by the seller.
Okay.
Cool.
Yes. Thank you. This was the question. Thank you
All
so
right, good.
much.
And that's my answer. See, quick question, quick answer.
Yes,
I
it was
like that.
quick. Thank you
All
so
right,
much. I
perfect.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah, I do. I was trying to work on that orange planting and sending out a message, a handwritten note or something to
Yeah.
the 150 so people that I don't have. But anyway,
Right.
do you have a script that you can share on a kind of maybe an introduction type of, I'm now a realtor?
Yeah. I don't have one off the top of my head. I would Google it, right? Because I'm sure there's a YouTube video out there on it, right?
Right.
But be careful. The only thing I would encourage you to be careful on is don't fall prey into, hey, I'm now a realtor, and by the way, if anybody you know is looking to buy or sell real estate, you want to stay away. Nothing wrong with letting them know you're now a realtor, but I'll tell you this. Here's a script that now it's just coming back to me. A guy used many sessions ago that just as a reason to reach out to people is, especially if they weren't like past clients or anything like that. Just say, let's say I'm writing a letter to you. Hey, Manny, you and I know each other from, kids soccer, and I've got your address, or from church or whatever, right? Hey, just want to let you know, I have gotten real estate. The one thing I'm learning in my brief, one thing I've learned recently in real estate is that it covers such a broad spectrum of stuff And I've got some really good relationships on some really good vendors and people that, so if you ever run across something that you might need, whether it be for your home or other things, from, you know, hey, a good handyman to a good insurance person, you know, I've joined this group that's got some really fabulous resources. I'd be happy to share that with. So if there's anything I can help you with, feel free to let me know, right? Kind of
Okay.
thing. Just that, hey, I've got this broad, it's opened my eyes to how many different parts of our economy, right, are integrated with real estate. And so because of that, I've got some really good, you know, people that have some really good contacts on just about everything you might need. So if you need a resource for anything, let me know.
Okay.
Right.
That sounds
And
good.
that's kind of, it's implying that, hey, how can I help you? Right. You know, kind of thing, rather than, hey, how can you help me by telling me about your friends and family. Right. Yeah. And then you might remember at the end in the book, he encourages the 7 parts of a power note, right? One of them is a compelling PS, right?
Right.
At the end is maybe, hey, PS, would love to grab coffee sometime. All right. If it's somebody that you would feel, you know, comfortable,
Right.
Would love to grab coffee sometime, give me a call or, you know, let me know or whatever, you know, kind of thing, something like that. Cool.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Welcome. Anybody else? We got a little extra time here. All right, no problem. I like an extra found 12 minutes. All right, when your time is structured like ours is, extra 12 minutes is like gold, right? Okay, now you can go not binge watch more of Vikings on Netflix. All right, go. I'm talking to myself, by the way. All right, go do something productive. All right, guys, great to see you. If you need us, reach out, let us know. Continue to go get them. Kudos to all you guys who did your open houses and started implementing already. Those of you who didn't, continue to encourage yourself to go implement and just go make it happen. All right, talk to you guys later.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.